Hello and welcome to Killing Time with Rashida. I'm your sweet and slightly stabby host, and we are hunting Bunny's killer. We're talking about episode 9 of Only Murders in the Building season 2, the last episode before we find out who killed Bunny and hopefully get an answer to all of the remaining questions we have this season. Let's consider the remaining suspects one by one and make a final guilty verdict before the season finale airs. There are a few characters that we may have suspected early on, but who I believe were exonerated in previous episodes. That would include Nina Lynn and boyfriend Jared, and Marv and the podcast fans by extension, as well as Theo after helping Mabel in episode 7. Now let's take a look at episode 9. During one of their many playful spats, Charlever discovered the Rose Cooper painting hidden in a compartment of Mrs. Gambellini's bird cage. Didn't I tell you something important was being stored in that cage? This led Charles to seek out Leonora Folger, and in the process, he discovered that this woman is not Leonora, but Rose Cooper, the woman that everyone thought was dead. So Charles basically gives this woman the Rose Cooper painting. Not me. She only just finished lying about being Leonora Folger. Now I'm supposed to believe she's Rose Cooper and hand over this $1 million painting? No sir, no ma'am. I need to see some DNA results first. Anyway, Rose Cooper did offer Charles a bit of closure regarding his father, and I think we'll hear more about the Rose Cooper painting, including who else is determined to get their hands on it, and details on how and why Bunny had a replica made in the finale episode. However, if there were any lingering doubts about whether Leonora killed Bunny, not too long ago, Leonora was my first pick for Bunny's killer. I think she can officially be crossed off of that list. It's also revealed that Oliver is Will's biological father. Just kidding. We learned that Teddy, not Oliver, is Will's dad. But I genuinely believed Oliver when he lied about the test results to Charles, Mabel, and Will. And I love how that twist was revealed, from Oliver attacking Teddy on the elevator to Howard sensing that something was amiss but still hopping on the elevator and then frantically struggling to get off once Oliver and Teddy go at it again. Later we see Teddy and Oliver have a bit of a heart-to-heart, and it just doesn't seem likely that Teddy is wrapped up in this season's murder business at all. There are 2 more characters I believe can be eliminated from the suspect list simply because we've seen very little of them, as well as any motive, means, or opportunity they may have had to kill Bunny. That would include Amy Schumer and Uma. All we really have on Amy is that she's obsessed with Charles and wants to take over the Only Murders in the Building podcast. And while Uma showed interest in the Rose Cooper painting, we've seen very little, if any, of her or Amy in recent episodes. Howard was with Uma when she went into Bunny's apartment searching for the Rose Cooper painting. He also initially lied about getting punched in the face, and we still haven't learned why he claims Nina punched him. And while I think Howard is hoarding some secrets behind his lovable, quirky personality, because I really like Howard, have we gotten any indication in recent episodes why he would want to A, kill Bunny specifically, or B, kill anyone for the purpose of framing Mabel, which I believe are the 2 possible motives for Bunny's murder? So I conclude that Howard is a person of interest, but not the guilty party. And speaking of hoarding secrets, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Ivan is hiding something. He knows exactly why Bunny was giving him money, and he did not just return that last wad of cash because it felt wrong to keep it. Also, he had a reason to be interested in the identity of the person Bunny met at the Pickle Diner before she was even murdered. So Ivan, like Howard, is probably not the killer, but he's definitely a person of interest. Circling back to episode 9, Mabel was very busy this episode. First, it appears that she finally sent Alice packing. Alice shows up on Mabel's doorstep with a weak bladder, masquerading as a weak excuse for Mabel to let her in, and then gives Mabel her raggedy peace offering of a puzzle. While she is guilty of being dishonest, I do not think Alice is the killer. Then Mabel jumps into the ring with Detective Kreps, literally. And this is where our investigation gets really interesting. Kreps tells Mabel that the matchbook is gone and that it didn't have his fingerprint on it anyway. I think we can assume that he destroyed it, but can we assume that Kreps knows whose fingerprint is on the matchbook? Then Kreps basically tells Mabel that he's pinning Bunny's murder on her and he does not care that she's innocent. And did you notice how he told Mabel that she wasn't going to get him to say anything he didn't want to say? And then he literally hands Mabel a clue by mentioning Cinda Canning's All Is Not Okay in Oklahoma podcast. Did you notice that? Let me know in the comments if you think that Kreps genuinely leaked that clue or if you think he was intentional about mentioning the podcast and it's actually misdirecting Mabel. Because what he told Mabel led her to listen to the All Is Not Okay podcast while she was piecing together the puzzle that Alice gave her, which led Poppy to reveal that she is Becky Butler, the missing woman at the center of that podcast, which led to the discovery that Kreps and Cinda met when they were both in Oklahoma searching for Becky Butler, aka Poppy, which led to Mabel convincing Charliver that Cinda is the criminal mastermind behind Bunny's murder. Now, some folks may be ready to wrap up this investigation and handcuff Cinda, but I have questions. Can we assume that Cinda is the dark-haired, bespectacled woman that people keep describing? Ursula said a woman of that description was asking about the trio. She told Oliver this during Bunny's memorial service, and Rose told Charles that a similar looking woman pestered her about the Rose Cooper painting. You know who else has dark hair and wears glasses besides Cinda? Poppy. On a similar note, just because we see that Kreps met Cinda at the Chicken Chug, should we take it for granted that Cinda is this smartest woman on the planet that he tells Mabel he landed? Could Kreps actually be referring to Poppy? We see Kreps and Cinda making googly eyes at each other at the Chicken Chug as if Cinda is this highly intelligent mastermind that Kreps has aligned himself with. But think about it. Who would be more of a criminal mastermind? A woman who is openly manipulative, arrogant, greedy, and aggressive, getting away with murder and aligning herself with a corrupt cop? Or a woman living under a false identity who carefully curates the image of a mousy, underachieving, and quite frankly pathetic woman who lets her heartless cow of a boss believe she has the upper hand, all while she's coldly targeting an innocent old lady to be the center casualty in her morbid master plan? And speaking of a criminal mastermind with a master plan, what if Cinda doesn't even know that Poppy is Becky Butler? Yes, Cinda won an award for allegedly solving Becky Butler's murder and disappearance, but we also saw Kreps take Becky Butler's hair sample from the evidence room and bury it in the woods. We know that he's a dirty cop, and he told us that his detective salary isn't enough to pay the bills, that he does what he has to do for money, including moonlighting as a security guard and assisting smaller police departments. So Kreps planted that evidence because someone paid him to do it. What if Becky Butler, aka Poppy, convinced a stupid detective who was desperate for money to make a deal with Cinda, an equally sleazy podcaster, to plant evidence? Cinda gets recognition for solving a case, Kreps gets paid, and Becky Butler gets everyone to stop looking for her so that she can live peacefully as Poppy. And Cinda probably never met Becky Butler in real life. So if Becky Butler drastically changed her appearance, Cinda may not have recognized her even if they were working closely together. Cinda hardly pays Poppy any mind. I bet if someone said, "Close your eyes, Cinda, and tell me what color is Poppy's hair," or anything, she wouldn't be able to tell you anything, because I think she just takes Poppy for granted and really doesn't consider her or pay any attention to her anyway. Poppy's our mastermind, my fellow sleuth, and I think that would also make her our killer. Now, why? Poppy could have some connection to Bunny and or the Rose Cooper painting that would be revealed in the finale episode, or she could have killed Bunny in cold blood to create drama for a podcast she's hoping Cinda will promote her to hosting. Whatever Poppy's motive for murder could have been, I'm 100% convinced that Poppy murdered Bunny Folger. Now I've shown you all of my cards and it's your turn. The finale episode airs in just a few days. Let me know in the comments who you believe murdered Bunny. Do you agree with me that it was Poppy, or do you think the killer was someone else? Final answer. And after episode 10, we'll do a wrap-up video to celebrate closing the case and see who correctly ID'd the killer. Okay, bye.